Hello and welcome to Talking Dogs on a Monday. Yes, indeed, we are back on a Monday evening and we are looking back at a very busy weekend in Irish Greyhound racing. Of course, the Tote Gold Cup was the feature at Shelburne Park, two wonderful semi-finals to that competition. And of course, then the previous evening, we are going to look back at the opening round heats of the Juvenile Classic. Some, well, potential superstars in action there, as well as bringing you some of the action from Cork, Mullingar, Thurles, and of course a mention of the action at Newbridge also. I'm joined as always by the exiled dub Tommy Lyons. Tommy, a busy weekend. You can hear by my voice I'm still feeling the effects a little bit.
And I wasn't from a busy weekend. That was a busy weekend of celebrating your birthday, 52 or something, whatever it is nowadays.
Certainly not 50, as Barry Call posted online. A few people sent me a happy 50th birthday. I can promise you I'm a long way from 50, as you well know. Um,
I'm a bit away as well. My birthday's next week, but that's definitely not 50. Definitely not
uh,
50. But yeah,
yes.
it was a busy weekend, a good weekend. And actually, I saw your preview of the Tote Gold Cup, and you were kind of talking it up, and rightly so. It's good competition. It's good final.
Yeah, it's a hell of a good final. It also sort of highlighted, as I said in the report, the unpredictable nature of greyhound racing. You know, things can happen. We saw two dogs getting knocked over in the two semi-finals. Thankfully, both jumped up and are perfectly sound. But it just goes to show, like, the two favourites both hit the deck. That doesn't often happen in semi-finals of big competitions. But as we've been saying for the last few weeks, this has been a hotter Gold Cup than perhaps in recent times. Yes, the finals in recent times have turned out to be brilliant. But this year it was deeper. And as a result, on Saturday night, there was no room for error going into the opening corner. Things got very tight, and the trap draw played a huge part in both heats. But it has to be said that both winners were very good.
Both winners were excellent, and no semblance of fluke about them. And the two incidents at the first bend and the two each were a bit unlucky. They were very different, actually. One of them was a dog getting a little bit of a shoulder off the bend, and kind of I actually didn't think it should have resulted in tumbling out. The other one, he just got two dogs came across and sandwiched the other dog and tumbled out of the action. Thankfully, they're both fine. That's the main point to take away from that. Um, First TT, we might as well start with this deadly style.
I tell you, I wouldn't have backed him at 101 off the second bend.
No, but you know what? Well, you say that, right? But if somebody said to you at the second bend, right, Glengar and Marta won't be in it, Gesturing Breeze will be effectively out of contention. Octane Core will be out of contention in terms of winning the race. Um, you look at it another way. We talked so much last week about another holiday where we thought he was. We both agreed he had a great draw. And in fairness to the dog, even though we felt he wasn't at his best last week, and I think Saturday night's run proves we're right.
Yeah.
He wasn't at his best in the semi final, but he led because he had a great draw and he was able to use his early pace to get around in front. Now, if that had happened, and I agree with you in one sense in regard to Deadly Style, that if I had known or thought that was going to happen, and of course that was a scenario that was definitely on our minds that he could lead because the draw was so favourable, you would have said surely he'd go on and win it, but he didn't. Deadly Style picked him up, and Deadly Style had him collared by the third bend, having been third or fourth out of boxes. So it was a good performance. But I like you, I was a little bit surprised. Um, but yes, it changed when Glengar Marta tumbled. She she wouldn't be a specialist early pacer, Glengar Marta, but she has some brilliant runs in there among her form from over the course of the last year or whatever it is that she's been running. And she was positioned well enough in terms of proximity to the leader. She was positioned well enough to still have a big say in the race. But
She was actually after showing a good bit of early speed into the race because despite that
yeah,
the doors were sort of closing, she was still trying to force her way through that gap that wasn't really there. And I think I got more sort of confidence going forward from her on this night than I would have like the last two ones where everything went right. She popped out, she led, she dominated, easy peasy. Okay, we know she's capable of doing the fast runs, fair enough. But the other night, while there was a little bit of, obviously obviously she was knocked over at the corner. She didn't get a chance to show anything thereafter. But I thought she showed enough and determination as well as sort of
yeah.
pace into the opening corner to suggest that if they met again next week, you'd be showing her the utmost respect, no question about it. She's certainly one that I think that's here to stay this year. I don't think those two runs will be a flash in the pan. I think we'll see plenty of that this year from her.
Yeah, look, she's entitled to strengthen up a bit now. She has a good bit of running. done. She tried to strengthen up a bit too, and hence that's I think that's what'll keep her in competitions longer this year than last year. That's what it'll do.
Mm.
I mean, she tends to do big runs, and then you don't. And you know what the funny thing is? If you look back through her form, it's not necessarily that she runs flat or anything. She just doesn't get away, a bit like the other night, doesn't get away and gets into a bit of trouble, and all of a sudden it looks like a bad run. Well, it's not a bad run. It's just things don't fall her way. Um, but she's a type of bitch that when the opportunity is there, it's like we said about another holiday having a great draw. When the opportunity is there for Glengar Market to win a race, she tends to take it, which is great for punters if you're following her, or for connections if you're following. If there's an opportunity there, you won't be going, oh, what should she do? Will she do this? No, she'll take it. She'll take it. That's the type she is. So I look forward to her for the remainder of the year as well. But just a bit unfortunate what happened the other night. But
I think she runs like a bitch that will be campaigned again against the dogs a lot, because I think 550 probably is her distance, just given the fact
yeah,
that she has that bit of early speed. And while the
yeah.
Oaks is so razor sharp, she may not well be an Oaks bitch. Well, like, don't get me wrong, she could still go very deep in the Oaks. She could easily make the final, but I think she'd probably have more chance of leaving a stamp over 550 than she would over the 525-yard trip. But we'll see. But let's get back to the winner, Deadly Style. The first night in the opening round, he flashed out, did everything right on the outside. I thought he looked a real early speedster on that night. I didn't know an awful lot about him, it has to be said. So it was encouraging to see that run. I thought he ran well behind Road Exile, having not set the pace. And as you said the other evening, he showed great speed to get past Another Holiday at the third bend. Droopy Sydney had a Kulavani Abba. I was only looking this morning. Kulavani Abba is a half sister to Hoffa. So Abba is out of Ella. We'll get to that breeding again a little bit later on, but it just goes to show, like, there's a lovely breed there. He's obviously very talented, and he's going to have his draw most nights, being a wide seed. You couldn't fault the display. Another Holiday, he's just that length or two off it. He's just running just a touch flat, but we all know that he's capable of going 28-10 any night of the week. And yeah, you still wouldn't rule him out, and we'll get to it. He's got a middle draw in the final, and that's certainly where he wants to be.
Well, look, the funny thing is, right, he was picked up in the first round. He was second to Glengar Marta, well beaten. It's just things didn't happen in the second round. He was picked up the other night. I just wonder, would there be a change of tack with him in sense of whereas in last year he was coming out and doing big runs in the early parts of competitions and not featuring in the closing stages. I know I forget the ledger because I think he came out of the ledger really late. But I wonder, is there a change of tack and maybe try to leave it and put the work on him towards the end of a competition to try to get him more relevant in it, because talent-wise he's capable of winning a big competition. There's no doubt about that. And of course he's in the final of a Tote Gold Cup now, so it's hardly telling you much you don't know. But I just think, I wonder, is there a change of tack in that way and trying to train him slightly differently and leave him a little bit short maybe early, and let each of the rounds kind of give him that extra bit of fitness that he might need towards the end of the competition.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say about that is he wasn't really off all that long after
No, he wasn't.
Christmas
No, he
break,
wasn't.
so he
No.
should be sort of relatively fitting himself. And the fact he's had 3 quick runs now, like, he should be at fitness. I wouldn't be too certain. I wouldn't be too certain he's going to improve 3 lengths for last week's run, having seen him the last 3 weeks. Like, he's been very consistent on the clock.
He has, yeah, but like he's been consistent on the clock at a level that's about 25 spots less than he's capable of.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. Back in third in that contest was, where were we? Neon Knight, who was second into the back straight. That's 2 weeks in a row now. He's after showing a load of early speed. As I said last week, like, he may not win in this competition, but when he gets out of it, he's going to pick up a 525 very quickly. He's just a really nice, solid greyhound.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. Yeah, it's Ian Riley doesn't tend to keep too many. It's not big on numbers, but just quality. There's always quality there. I'd always expect him to run the race or run to a high level. He doesn't mess about them, as I say. So yeah, Neon Knight is nice, but it's hard to make a case for Neon Knight in the final, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. When you look at the final and how much early speed there is in it, like, how is he going to get a clear passage on the outside of Another Holiday and wedged by Deadly Style on his other side, not to mention the other two on the inside. So that was the opening heat. A good victory for Deadly Style. Clearly a dog that's in good form and in a heart in himself. On to the second heat, Tommy, and I think Boyle Sports Coco will take a step right most nights from Trap 2. I think that's what we've learned the other evening. probably wasn't as marked maybe as the previous round, but
Yeah.
it was enough just to, close the door that little bit. And a lot of other news is forced a little wide as well. Or well, it was actually Carrick Aldo nearly she was holding up into the opening corner. You saw Road Exile trying to get in there. It all got very tight on the outside of the track. But Boyle Sports Coco by that point had made her move. She was gone to the front. Ballymac Flynn slipped around second after the opening round traffic, and thereafter was very much a match. Ballymac Flynn showed good speed down into the third bend to close again, but as we've said, this lady is getting stronger and stronger. I think she's looking pretty much close to the finished article. The 5-1 is somewhat surprising for me. I had her in around the 4-1 mark with Road Exile, the 5-1, because he was on the outside of all the early speed, where she was on the inside of all the early speed. I thought she had the better draw of the two. The 5-1 was generous, and I'm sure one or two people took it.
Yeah, I hope so. We were positive about her here last week. Thought she had a great chance on the basis that she had shown more early pace than Ballymacfin in the previous round, and in fact, it was almost a carbon copy. Didn't fly from things, showed lovely pace up, took a little step to the right. Ballymacfin showed great pace down to the third bend, closed it up as if you'd say, well, Ballymacfin might get by now. But I tell you, like you talk about stronger, I mentioned that word in my report this morning in the Examiner, that like she's just so strong at the moment. She's just after. I think she's after strengthening up. Maybe connections might say she was always kind of strong. I think she's strengthened up a good bit, and the way she kept Ballymacfin at bay again suggests, and it was a career best clockwise. I think the 28:30 last week might have been. I can't remember, but I think it might have been an equal of her previous best, or it might have been her best. And 28:23, because we actually said last week that it was a better run than even the clock suggested last week. So I'm not surprised that she was doing a career best. Now, this would be more for you than for me, but um, when I was watching it, I didn't want to know when I was watching the two semi-finals. I didn't want to know the time. I didn't. But I suspected that when I checked her sectional afterwards, I thought, okay, that's not really, in keeping with last week's sectionals. But actually, it was a nice bit quicker than the previous heat. I wasn't surprised at that. So maybe the clock was even back a little bit. And the 28:23, it's an even better run than 28:23.
Yeah, well, there was some good runs done the undercard as well, so it
Yeah,
is
yeah,
hard
there
to
were, yeah.
tell. But you know, it was a fine display. That's all I know, and it was a display where I'm thinking she's got trapped two again in the final. She's like they've been painting that blue jacket on her, haven't they? I, I think she'll be my selection. Just going
She,
into the final, looking at it now. Let's talk about Ballymacfin. He was on the right side of Boyle Sports Coco, but just didn't take the flyer that he needed to take. He needed to be on terms with her after 15 yards, and he wasn't. Because you're not going to be picking her up into the opening corner. As it was, he did run hard in defeat, and you certainly wouldn't rule him out of the final, especially if he took a start like he did in the opening round.
yeah, no, I wouldn't rule him out at all because he is strong. He just might, getting away that little bit sharper is key to him. He was very impressive in the first round. Yeah, he's a funny dog in a sense that I think if he's too classy to be saying anything negative about him, but like I think he's got to match her boys versus Coco early. He's got to match them all early if he's going to pick them up. Just finding the way
He's
around
not
at this
he's
stage.
not a dog we've ever really seen coming from off the pace to win a race. Like his victories
No,
tend to come when he's on the bunny. I think that's fair enough to say, but like he's a very, very,
yes.
very talented greyhound, one of the best in country. But as we said, if he's not in front by the third bend, he's not picking you up.
Look at yeah. It's not that he can't do that. It's not that he can't pick it up, but I think his momentum is down the back. His momentum is 2 to 3 probably. Where he's
Mm.
at his best. And at that stage, if you're having to if you've built up that momentum and you're having to kind of find a way at the third bend to start thinking inside outside, trying to do something a little bit different rather than just driving on, that's where you can lose that momentum and you have to build it up again. I don't think he's certainly not faltering. He's certainly not giving up. He's certainly not kind of not getting home strongly or anything. There's nothing like that. It's just he's trying to find his way sharp. It's about a sharpness over 5.25 at this stage, and he's been around a while. Like what age is he now? He is November 20. Yeah, he's 3 and not quite a
Three and a
half, but
half. Yeah, not quite a
he's
half,
not
but yeah,
quite
yeah.
he's not quite 3.5. He's 3/4 maybe, but he's not going to have he's not going to get sharper now than he was. You know what I mean? So he thinks he needs to break. He needs to break because um all his
It's it,
most
it's purely down to the company he's keeping as well, of
most of
course.
his pace is there. Most of his
Yeah.
pace is there. And actually, funny enough, he knows his Derby runner up. Maybe he was a 5.25 dog in his younger days, was he?
We
And
didn't
that
see an
was
awful lot of him prior to the Derby. I suppose he was relatively lightly raced going into it, given the fact he was a November whelp. Like he was very young going into that
yeah, he
Derby. He
was.
was a
Yeah,
very young Derby finalist, and would have been one of the youngest winners ever had he picked up Born Warrior
yeah.
on the night. A lot of other news was back in third, and this is a dog like I've loved him for a long, long time. I've seen more of him than most because the vast majority of his racing, certainly in the last 6 months, has been in Shelburne Park, and every night he turns up, and when conditions allow in the right sort of race, you can set your clock by him. He has some fine displays around Shelburne. He's a 28.25, a 28.31. He's running consistently through this competition. Missed the kick the other night by his standards. Had to ride. I got a little bit of luck in the opening corner to go third, but once doing so, he's not a dog you'll easily pass. Sean Conway doing a wonderful job with this greyhound. A lot of other news, and for the Lotto Express syndicate that own him, just some amount of crack with him. And he's got a great draw in the
Yeah.
final, Tommy. Great draw in the final.
Yeah, you know what? In fairness to him, he's if you look back through the form, there's a lot of really good lines of form, a lot of really really good lines of form there. So, what he needs to do is to fly out like he did, like he can do. Probably hasn't done it in this company. Maybe he needs to fly out from trap one in the final. That the heat though was a bit obviously Carrick Aldo crashing out of contention. That was desperately unfortunate. Thankfully he's all right. Again, probably the only thing to be said there is that yet again he didn't fly out of boxes. He just doesn't. Is he ever going to? I don't know. Um, because I'm certain. I'm certain. I've said it on repeat. I'm on repeat here saying that he's going to smash 28 seconds some night when everything goes right for him. He will do it. Whatever track it's at, I don't know. It could be Shelburne, could be Curraheen Park, could be whatever. He'll do it because that ability is there. But I just love to see him fly out one day and do that. Roll Exile ran into the trouble at the first bend as well. Simon's cap was involved in the trouble as well, unfortunately for those, and it left the kind of race the way it was.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, there was the inside runners that got the clear passage. And so we're left with a final. 1, Lotto of the News. 2, Boyle Sports Coco. 3, Ballymacfin. 4 is Another Holiday. 5, Neon Night. And 6 is Deadly Style. Looking at it originally, I've sided with Trap 2, Boyle Sports Coco. That's the way I'll go with it. I can't see any reason to oppose her, just given the way she's been racing and the fact that she's on the right side of who are perceived as her main dangers. I think a lot of other news has a great draw, but he'll be double figure odds, but he can certainly run well, especially if he can find a start. Ballymacfin needs to sort of take that flyer. He needs to get racing quickly. The same could be said for Another Holiday, who may well be the main challenger into the opening corner with Boyle Sports Coco. I think for 3-4, I think that's his near ideal draw. Neon Night will obviously go up well, but he'll be a big price, double figures, perhaps 25-1 or even bigger in places. And Deadly Style on the outside. I think Deadly Style needs to do everything right. Again, I just keep coming back to Boyle Sports Coco. If she can find a 203, 204, I think she'll be in front around the second bend.
Yeah, I'm kind of disgusted with myself. I didn't back it. Talked about it last week. I thought the 16s was very big. Just the hassle trying to get a bet on was the issue there. But anyway, I see 7-4, 15-8 favourite now to win it, just slightly ahead of Ballymacfin, and it's entitled to be. I don't think there's much meat on the bones in those prices. I think they're probably right, in the sense that Boy Sports is on the right side. She's shown the better rarity pace in the 2 previous rounds. And all things being equal, you would say that the same thing will happen again. Of course, all things aren't equal in the final. Little things can happen, and for some reason, one like if you said to me, okay, Boys versus Coco is going to miss a kick slightly, like Ballymacfin is probably an odds-on chance, but I have a concern about the draw for Ballymacfin because whatever about Boys versus Coco turning or taking a step right, if she does, that could actually impact her because Ballymacfin isn't going to get out of the way. Like he's a big 76-pound dog. A little bit of bump that could cost her the momentum that cost her the race. But you have Another Holiday who is going to break, who is going to flash out and probably be in front of Ballymacfin for a few strides at least, if not around the opening bend. It's kind of a tricky draw it's probably tricky for Ballymacfin and for Another Holiday because Another Holiday has to clear Ballymacfin, but also has to clear Boyle Sports Coco. I think another holiday is a blocker for 5 and 6 for Neon Night and Deadly Style. I think he probably prevents either of those winning the competition because he's going to stay that, as you talked about, he's going to stay at kind of a trap three, trap four kind of line. That's the line he's going to take anyway. And that's going to probably make it more difficult to add a length or two to what 5 and 6 both have to achieve to win the competition. To me, the draw is ideal for Boys vs Coco. Yes, a lot of overused, can break quickly. Um, enough to hold up Boys vs Coco? I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm going to side with Boys vs Coco, and I'll probably nominate Finn as my second choice, and I'll probably go with another holiday to be third, to be honest, just given the fact that he will be prominent. But you know, it's a cracking contest, and again, it's one where a fast start can overcome a tricky enough draw. That's the beauty of these real sharp 5 to 5 yard greyhounds. That something can take a flyer, and there is a 199 in one of them there. You never know.
Yeah.
And if you do 199, go around the corner in front, you're going to take some stopping. But no, good find to look forward to at Shelburne Park this Saturday night. We'll move on quickly, Tommy, because we've plenty to cover. Let's get stuck into the Juvenile Classic. Never fails to deliver, Tommy. I think it's safe to say both in victory and defeat, there were some real eye catchers. Obviously, Kula Vaniato took the headlines with the 28:04 run, and the Bull Falcon, who's a dog we've known a bit about for a while. He was already disputing favouritism for English Derby glory, believe it or not, prior to his debut. Connections obviously thought an awful lot of him. He did 28:13, very, very impressive. Kilcolgan Mick was very impressive in 28:45, but the other heat winners were all good, and there was one or two in behind that you can expect bundles and bundles of improvement. It's amazing how important this competition has become on the calendar.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you're looking to this, and if you're not watching every heat and every round of this, you're doing something wrong because you're missing out a lot. The funny thing was the Bull Falcon, like to be back to be English Derby favourite or even up towards market. Obviously, somebody's had a few quid on, but like it's an unraced dog that's £79. Um, what do they think this dog is capable of? If he's shown it that size at that age, if he's showing that already, what is he going to be capable of when he gets a bit of experience? I mean, that to me it says a lot to me anyway. What they think of him. I actually thought that the Otto dog, even though he's I think he's a 70 pounder. I just closed my results here now. I think he's 70 pound dog if I remember rightly,
He
and
is, yeah.
he's he what I love, absolutely love, is he looks like a much bigger dog. He races like a much bigger dog. He strides like a bigger dog. I absolutely love that in a greyhound. It's like they're covering ground impressively. He looks
That
that way,
that that
and
partly comes down to the fact of his colouring as well. You know, the white or coloured dogs often do look that way. And he was wearing the white jacket as well, which means sort of he pops out. He just stands out a little bit. You see his pedigree. Did you look at his pedigree? No.
I did actually
West Wind
go on.
Jet is out of some tiers, who's out of Premier Tina, who's out of Tina Marina. So the
Marina.
dam line goes back to a Derby champion on the dam side. What was it, 1996? Tina Marina won the Derby. Obviously, a pedigree I know very well. He looks an immensely fast animal. Tommy did everything
He
right.
looks serious.
Son of Droopy Sydney. We have to mention Droopy Sydney. We never mentioned in the Gold Cup. There is yet to be a heat of the Gold Cup not won by a Droopy Sydney. You know, we're talking 6 in the first round, 4 in the third, in the second round, and 2 semi-finals, all won by Droopy Sydneys. And we've tipped up a Droopy Sydney to win the final. And here's another Droopy Sydney, and this time he's out of West Wind Jet, owned by James and Nathan Corden. The Cordons have owned some fast greyhounds over the years. Terry, of course, won a couple of classics. Trained by Pat Buckley. Pat kept this fellow relatively quiet. I don't remember him telling me about him. He may well have done, but just immensely fast. Like the dog in second spot showed a bit of pace, but he's beaten 6.5 lengths in the end. I liked the dog in third a lot. I thought the Silver Hill Adam dog looked very, very fast indeed. I really did like him. I thought he was one of the big eye catchers of the dogs that were beaten. But Kulavani Otto, like the headlines are there, 28:04, just a massive, massive run.
Yeah, and I like Pat Buckley had another dog earlier on that got beaten, actually, Flashing Jack.
Mm.
You see that behind Kilcog and Mick. That was a cracking heat as well. I thought he caught my eye. Looked for a dog that was slow away, was drawn wrong, was showed terrific pace. And again, lack of experience of passing dogs and that sort of stuff, just racing experience. I thought he actually caught my eye quite a bit,
A
Flashing
full,
Jack.
a full brother to Balnabola Ed and Flashing Jack. Obviously, there's pace and ability there. Let's quickly go through the heats. The first heat won by Baby Bocco. Didn't look likely going into the opening corner. He's closely rated to English Derby winner Thorn Falcon on the dam side, son of Lenson. Bocco did a massive qualifying trial at Enniscorthy. Was bought by Graham Bock soon after. We spoke at the time. He was excited to get his hands on a very decent son of Lenson Bocco, of course, who was his Derby winner. Gave away loads of ground. I don't think Tralee will be his track. But I'll tell you something, he looked really big, strong, galloping Greyhound. Does 28.77. It's the slowest of the heats, but I don't think that tells the full story. I think there's an engine there.
Yeah, because he had to do things kind of the hard way. He was only 15th to the bend. He lost maybe a length reasonably quickly on the run to the first bend, and you thought, oh well, he can't win from here. Even down to third bend, he was showing great pace. From the second bend, he kind of turned on the turbos. Then he kind of got held up because unfortunately there were two dogs in front of him, almost one outside the other, which was forcing him even wider at the third bend. Great determination, great, 28.77, take 30, 40 spots off that.
Yeah, easily. Chambord was second, trained by Tommy O'Donovan, a well-bred daughter of Juby Sydney and Zabi. I was talking to Tommy last week about another dog that he actually trialed at Shelburne Park. I think he likes a few of those in his kennel. I think these are Zabis. I think he thinks a fair bit of them. Her 14.37 to the third bend weighs up quite well compared to the other heats. So keep an eye out for her. She'll improve. There was traffic at the opening corner for a couple of them. So just don't be surprised if one or two improve for the run. The second heat was won by Kilcolgan Mick, obviously out of Razzle Dazzle Annie, who goes back to the, Razzle Dazzle Maryland, Dundoo and Diva. You said so, another Derby champion. Or big pardon, another talented bitch. You said so. She bred a Derby champion, didn't she? He said so. So very, very good pedigree. Razzle Dazzle Annie. Am I right in saying, did she win the last ever Grand National? Am I wrong? Could be wrong there now. One of the Razzle Dazzles won. Maybe I'm talking complete nonsense. No, maybe it wasn't Razzle Dazzle Annie. But obviously she was a talented tracker herself. And this Kilcolgan Mickey didn't set the pace. Instead, it was Kerr Glady that set the pace. What do I like about Kerr Glady, Tommy?
Go on, Tommy.
She's a full sister to Coulivanny Hoffa. And she does 14.19 to the third bend, easily the fastest of the six heats. And while she can't hold Kilcolgan Mick, I thought she looked very talented in front. But Kilcolgan Mick, just a really nice type of dog, Tommy. This another very strong runner. You can see him improving for it. Obviously, he trialed in very well, but looks a real talent. And it's good to see Niels O'Connell and Karen Gagan. Karen is an absolute, she's a star. She helps out at Shelburne Park with Brendan Paul with the retired Greyhounds. She brings up one or two herself, and it's great to see someone like Karen with a very good one to go to war with. Kilcolgan Mick is that.
Yeah, very much so. Actually, do you know what was lovely about this performance was the he kept his line the whole way,
Mm.
and when that gap opened up along the inside, just coming off the last bend, he was able to take it. Really nice performance. You're right about Razzle Annie 2020, the last Grand National as well.
Okay, I couldn't see it on the card, but on to the next heat. Our Cracker, like the way this fellow ran the corner, drove the bend, sort of made up his mind. And once going to the front was never going to be picked up. He wins in 28.60. His split to the third bend was only 14.69, but does 28.60. I would suggest he's really seeing it out strongly. Son of Dearjet Sydney. He's made a promising start to his stud career. Good to see him with a winner. Obviously an English Derby winner himself. This Our Cracker, I would suggest there's plenty of improvement left in him. He's a June 22 whelp. He's a late June 22 whelp. So just don't be surprised if he improves again for it. He already had 28.53 or 28.63 in qualifying. So it was no shock to see him winning.
It looks like a dog that will strengthen up quite a bit, actually, to me, looking at him stride. You can call it colour if you like or whatever, but I'm just talking about watching the videos and looking at the dogs, the way they stride and the way they carry themselves. I thought he's a dog that, like, he's 67 pounds. I wouldn't be surprised if he strengthens up quite a bit on that. How did he get around the bend? That's some determination. No wonder his section is so slow. I mean, he basically got dragged back. Got dragged back by being in the meat and the sandwich. How he got around, I don't know. How he picked himself up to get down the back and do that and do a 28.60. It'd be very interesting to see what he does next week if he happened to get a clear run.
Yeah, Corona Ryan was second with Beaming Panther. Obviously, Corona, a very good pal of Pat Buckley's, and Beaming Panther is a son of Doolan Duke, who we'll speak about later on, a very talented tracker. Just see, this was the weekend I first saw his progeny hitting the track, so it was noteworthy that a couple of them ran very, very well. On to the fourth of the heats, and this was the Bull Falcon, Tommy. Ballymac Patriot showed lots of pace in second spot to a point, and then the Bull Falcon. When you see these flashy times in qualifying, you automatically assume that they're doing it everywhere. They've tremendous early speed and whatnot. This fellow showed a bit of early boot, but it was he did the real damage on the clock from halfway.
He did, yeah, from about just approaching the third bend. Um, it's funny, maybe it's local bias, the fact that we had the dog that was one of the favourites, as you said, for the English Derby, unraced, and he wasn't even sent off favourite this heat. Ballymac Patriot was sent off the 5-4 on favourite, so there was obviously quite a bit of expectation from the locals that Ballymac Patriot might do something special. There was greenness about the winner as well, as I'd expect there to be.
Yeah.
So 28-13 is a savage run for a 79-pound dog. Wow, I'm look at the dog in third, actually, delightful, amazing.
Yeah, got
88
crowded in the
pounds.
opening corner, well off the pace early. Shows foot down the back straight, and yeah, actually the third one
88 pounds. 88 pounds. You look at the Bell Royal in fourth place, 61 pounds.
Yeah, there's a big difference there, all right. Showed foot in third spot, has to be said. At 88
Yeah.
pounds, all you have to do is sort of get the stride going. You are going to show a bit of foot. Had qualified in the 17:78 around Tralee, 29:07 around Clonmel. So obviously a bit of ability there. We'll need to be starting a bit faster. But again, we urge you to go back over these heats, watch them 3 or 4 times, take notes. Just a little thing, just a dog showing pace at any one point in a race, and you'll be amazed what they can go on to achieve when they get a bit of experience and get the runs underneath them. I would suggest if you go back over the last 5 or 6 years and look at the Juvenile Classic and look at the dogs that were knocked out in the opening round, I would say that they probably nearly won as many classics as those that didn't get knocked out in the opening round over the last 5 or 6 years. That's the way it's been. It's been very, very fast greyhounds knocked out in the opening round of this competition in recent years. The Bull Falcon, just so impressive. As you said, Tommy, still room for improvement off a 28-13. Good to see Jack Kennelly with a good one. Obviously, from a very fast family, Hail Cleopatra was the dam of Tullig Suriname, who won last year? The year before? Won the Lee Strand. Looked a real star for Pat Buckley. And sadly, career-ending injury early enough in his career. Moving on to Heat 6, or Heat 5, should I say, Nias Farna Bolt. Obviously, another one bred in the purple. Liam Dowling has this one not under the Ballymac prefix. It's funny, this time last year, he'd won not running under the Ballymac prefix called the Laddie Da. He didn't work out too bad. This fellow, Ballymac Kingdom, out of Ballymac Scala. Scala would have been the dam of Ballymac Cooper. So again, no surprise to see him emerging a good winner, 7-4 favourite, should get early speed. Have to say I like the dog in second as well. Ballymac Dapper. He is purely in Liam's name. Ballymac Cooper, Ballymac are into making him a brother to Ballymac Danica, who ran up the unraced stake at Clonmel. I think Liam Dowling might just have a little bit of ammunition again, Tommy. Surprise, surprise.
That's just the great big surprise, the shock of 2024, that Liam Dowling might be a force when it comes to all the big stakes. And actually, funny you were talking about Finn earlier on. I'm thinking about the lad he done now as well. He's when Liam keeps them lightly raced going to a derby too, you can ignore the fact they're lightly raced. And if they have shown that talent, or even the fact that he even put them into this competition, I know it's local and all that sort of crack, but he's put them into this competition because they're worthy of being in against the best.
Yeah, listen, the fact of the matter is he has options with them elsewhere if he wanted to go that route, but if he feels they're good enough, there's no real, like, there might be a small pecking order, he might know what he thinks is the best, but in this competition, when they are put into a racing environment, I would imagine Liam sort of learns more about them than than he would do sitting at home watching them or bringing them elsewhere. Like he knows Tralee like the back of his hand. As I said, both the winner and the second showed all sorts of pace. I think there's better to come from both decent sized dogs, £80, £79. So you'd expect natural improvement for them. Yeah, both very talented. Droopy's Carbine was back in third for Pat Kiley. Good to see Pat with a decent type. He qualified in 17:52 around Cork, 17:56, and had a 28:47 first mark in the card. Tommy, any word about this fellow?
No, I didn't hear. I didn't hear any. No, but you know what? Um, Pat Kiley, when he has the dog, when he has the ammunition, he generally gets the best out of them. Um, I didn't hear much about it. To be honest about it, was that those clocks are serious. What age is he in?
He must be a little bit older because his first mark
February
was
22. Yeah,
yeah his
February
first mark
22.
was
Yeah.
back in August. So, well, granted, it was late August, 29th of August. So clearly a youngster with a bright future. He got a bit of crowding in the opening bend when Ballymac Dapper forced his way up his inside. So, he's only beaten 2 lengths in 3 parts. It'd be no surprise if he went 20 or 30 spots faster next week. And then we get to Coulivanny Auto in the last year. We've already mentioned him, Tommy. What wasn't there to like? Just a very, very fast greyhound. Obviously, Nathan and James Corden own him, and they run Greyhound Trader sales in the UK, which has been hugely successful over the last 2 to 3 years. Be interesting, and it's interesting to see the fact that they still own this dog, whether they will sell him or whether they want to keep their hands on a good one. Obviously, James is very involved in the Pat Buckley kennel, and
You
I'm sure Pat will be in the rear going, if you are going to sell him, I want first refusal. I think Pat has any amount of men that'd be willing to buy one from.
geez, you want a lot of ink in the pen.
I
Um,
know that, yeah.
well, like watch the race. He attacked the third bend and drove around the last bend and all the way to the escape. Generally when these dogs do fast times, they tend to come back towards the escape. And next thing, by the time they get to the escape, there's a couple of dogs just almost on top of them because they're slowing down. I'd say the same distance between the dogs at the line as there were the escape. Like he was absolutely driving on. This is like the ball falcon on himself. And there are other dogs we're talking about looking at that we're going to step up 30, 40 spots, be doing 28, 20 next week. But these two were absolutely like, I don't know, the potential is unbelievable.
Yeah, his stride, he was so fluent. He was just so
Do you see
fluent
him?
down the back
Do
straight
you
and around
see
the
him
bottom two
from
bends.
look at him from the crown of the third bendy, the way he really drives around the last bend and all the way to the escape. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
he's running as hard at the escape as he was down the back
yeah,
straight. Yeah, most impressive. He's clearly a dog with a very, very big future. At 308, the 14:31 is good. As I said, what was the bitch? Kulog bitch, or Kurog, should I say? Kurog, she's doing 14:19. She was the easiest, the fastest of the round, but yeah, it's hard not to be impressed by Coulivanny Auto. Ballymac Rebel was second, obviously another one for Liam Dowling. Ballymac Kingdom out of Ballymac Diva had qualified in fast time. Just another one that could be anything. He or
isn't this
she is a sister to is she a sister to Coulivanny or to she's a sister to Ballymac Cooper as well. So obviously huge talent there. And now then Bella from the same litter was a star in the UK. But you could talk about the pedigrees all day and all night. As I said to you there, Ballymac Rebel ran well, but Silver Hill Adam did catch my eye in third. He's only in August 22 and it's late August. So he probably does have a little bit of maturing to do to catch up on the remainder. But the fact that Graham put him into this competition thinks he's forward enough. He's beaten 9 lengths by Coulivanny Auto. Like he's doing 28:67, and I really like the way he moved. I think there's a bright future there for Silver Hill Adam. Keep an eye on him. All in
yeah.
all, a great way to kick off the Juvenile Classic. There'll be one or two that'll step forward next week, and you'll go, "Wow, I wasn't expecting that from them." And is it safe to say there's a classic winner in waiting in there?
Oh, I'd be stunned if there isn't. And actually, just from the point of view, I say, I know it's a local thing and it's his track and whatever, Liam Dowling, but just look at the amount of different brood bitches that Liam has pups from that are running in this. I think he has like the likes of there's Arminta, there's Scala, there's Suling, there's Beanie, there's Wisdom, there's I mean, my God Almighty, like, to have them all coming from different brood bitches is frightening.
He doesn't have Beanie though.
Yeah, But
That was
but
the
I'm saying
youngest
they're
winner.
all,
It's worth
yeah,
it's
the
worth
line.
pointing out that Beanie, one of Beanie's daughters, she was knocked out. Oh no, she wasn't. Telon Bella behind our cracker thought she showed loads of foot into the third bench. She was forced to check up at that point. She was the 6-4 favourite. She's another one that caught the eye a bit. She's owned by Darren Burns, trained by Owen McKenna. Again, I think there's loads to come from her. But you could say the same for 7 or 8 of those that were beaten. Just a cracking juvenile classic. I can't wait for next Saturday night or next Friday night. The anticipation of seeing these young dogs and seeing where they'll go from here. And while this time last year we were looking at Ryhope Beach going, wow, look at that dog, all the early speed he showed and the pace he has. And, and it didn't go quite right for him. He does a 27.99 at Shelburne Park last week in trial, just goes to show the ability that he has. Don't get me wrong, frustrating Greyhound, but such ability. And, we don't know fully yet what the style of racing is going to be for all these dogs. Like whether Kula or the Otto dog will be able to get off the front in hot company, or whether he's going to be a strong runner. And we have a fair guide. Like certainly the Kerrog bitch, we know that she'll be a pace setter. Like that's the way she's going to be going forward. But there's still one or two of these where they can develop that extra length or two of early speed within 3 or 4 starts. You spoke about Droopy's flight line last week when we saw him in the unraced stake, and he looked like a really nice sort of strong running dog. And with each run, it was like he improved a half length of the opening corner to a point now where you'd say off a level start, there's probably only a half dozen dogs in the country that live with him to the opening corner.
Yeah, and look, to be honest about it, if they start off flying out of the box, that tends to be what they are. Because if they're not, if they stop breaking, they're not. They tend not to develop or be the same type of dog. Very seldom you see a dog that looks like a real a specialist early pacer and does those clocks early and then goes back to being a slow starter, fast finisher. That's rarer than the opposite way, where they develop the early pace. They get used to trapping, whatever else. But yeah, like these dogs will change. A lot of the dogs in behind, like I think we have a fair idea that what the two we talked about, most will what they'll be like. They're going to strengthen up and they're going to improve in the trapping department. They're going to be phenomenal grounds by the looks of things if they get a bit of luck. But just the point I was making, I know Liam Downey doesn't have a few of those brood bitches, but the importance of his breed, or the strength of his breed in
Yeah.
in the game now at the moment is it's I wouldn't even say it's that as people. It's grown up so much over the last few years, and even look what he's doing with the coursing as well.
Yeah, yeah, I know. It's amazing. It really is. And it's not just down to luck. That's not the case. It's the same every year. You see the same kennel, the same breeding operations are producing. Again, it's time, it's expertise, and it's just an innate skill. If you go to the upcoming cards, they don't actually have all 4 heats on the front page, but if you go into the PDF, you can find the 4 heats of the Juvenile Classic. And as you'd expect, a couple of real sort of clashes to look forward to. But the likes of the Bull Falcon and Culaveniato have been kept apart. Wouldn't be great to see them being kept apart until the final. And let's set the stage for a great night, and whatever other stars emerge in the meantime. Again, from start to finish, just a wonderful competition to look forward to. We'll move on, Tommy. The Cork Cup continued at Cork Park on Saturday night time, Greyhound Nutrition Cork Cup these days. Some fine performances, but as we said last week, it'll get very competitive. And all of a sudden, you look at the 4 heat winners. Yes, there was a 28.82, a little bit slower than the remaining heats, but 28.50, 28.50, 28.52. This is one of those competitions where it'll come down to the draw, because there's so many dogs in the competition capable of doing that 28.50 run.
Well, yeah, and look, there are, and it is fiercely competitive, and I suppose it should be for 5,000 for A1 dogs. The one I liked last week and the one I like again is Romeo Steele. He's the one I think is going forward. I thought he was green and going in from trap 4 when he won his first round heat. The night was a small bit of concern about the draw, but I actually thought he was going to turn second, and it kind of worked that way. In fact, he might have just got to the got to the front a little bit earlier than I anticipated. He's a dog that will improve when he gets an even better draw. I could see him. I could see him doing a huge run. But at the same time, you're probably going to have to.
Yeah, yeah. No, he's he's the one dog that we spoke about last week that would improve considerably for it. Nearly fell off the chair this morning when we were looking through the results off air, and we saw the 3-1. That seems a huge price, and Yeah, for a dog that was going to improve. 28.50. He's in August, late August. There's any amount of improvement
And
still potentially
yeah,
there. You know, the fact that Graham decided to go here with them and let him learn against race dogs, having run okay in the Clonmel competition, it tells a lot. He obviously has a bit of confidence in the dog. Bred in the purple, his dam is a full sister from repeat mating to Magico, the English Derby champion. So pedigree is there at a Ballymac or by Ballymac cash out. Cracking competition. The other heat winners there. Milridge Naddy won the final heat 28.52. De Bull Freddy, great to see him still winning races. Trained by Paul Hennessy these days for Craig Day and Vicky Dobson. A dog who started his career much like the Bull Falcon. Was very, very well touted and looked a real star in his early starts, 28-29, 28-31 in the first two rounds of the Juvenile Classic. And went to the UK for a while and just sort of lost his form a bit. But since he's come back to Ireland, he's found a little bit of form. Don't get me wrong, he'll never be the dog he once promised to be, but it's great to see him winning races. And Bambi's Lady won the other heat in 28.50, a cracking competition that the Time Greyhound Nutrition Cork Cup. That will continue again at the weekend. Thurles, the champion bitch, they continued, Tommy, two heats. Giddy Up Maggie winning in 28.98, take 20 off that for the grading tool. Fastaway always led, did everything right. Mustang Fever was in second spot. Bobsleigh Dream missed break, finished well as I was described, 11-10. She finished third. She's still there, and you'd have to say she's still a big player if she's there because we know how good she is. The second heat won by my lady, fashion model. She's very, very strong. Led one. If she leads one, forget about it. Born a Flame second, Sing Along Dolly back in third. I think Pat thinks a fair bit of Sing Along Dolly. She won the Puppy Oaks at the back end of the year. She's a nice type. I think we'll see better from her coming through the remainder of the year. Owned by Gilbert Anderson, who of course is such a lucky owner as well. Owns the Sing Along Prefix. He had the wonderful Sing Along Sally to finish so close in the Derby behind Susie Sapphire. But another cracking competition. It's this time of the year where we often spend our time focusing on the likes of the unraced dogs coming through the unraced competitions. But it's great to see the bitches back in action. There are plenty more waiting in the long grass for when the bigger competitions kick off in a month or two. The Oaks this year will be as hot as ever, you suspect.
oh, that could be red hot. I thought Born a Flame ran a cracking race behind Fashion Model actually in the second semi final the other night as well.
The fact that the fact that Fashion Model led early and only wins by a length and a half tells you how strong Born a Flame is. You saw that strength in the opening round. She is very, very strong, no question about it. Like, she's last at the opening corner. Fashion Model. Now it said Fashion Model led one. She doesn't lead one. She leads about 50 yards into the back straight is where she sort of first poked her head in front, but it's actually not to the third bend where she actually does take control, at which point Born a Flame is after charging down into the third bend, gets clear run around the outside. Now you're not to be picking up Fashion Model, but for her to stay within a length and a half of the line is fairly impressive, and the two of them kick on from the remainder.
Yeah, I think it was a cracking run by both of them. The same thing in the Cork Cup comments. It says about Romeo Steele. I think he said bumped run up, led four, but he actually led early. Um, Drove by the favourite early, and I think he's a dog that's going to shave quite a bit off it when he gets to go. He's a dog that could develop into a Laurels Greyhound.
Yeah, no, I tend
I
to
think
agree.
he showed early pace and got trouble in his first two runs. And I think because they came from behind in the first round of the Cork Cup, they're assuming that he's a dog that's going to come from behind a lot. I think that might be factored into the price, the 3-1 price you talked about a few minutes ago. He's I think he's an early pacer personally, but
Yeah, no, I like him. I like him a lot. Let's move on. Mullingar, the Kilbride Kennels, excuse me, Midlands Derby kicked off on Saturday night. It's a decent purse for A2 Company. It may be A2 Company, Tommy, but there was a track record. Hawkfield Abbey. Jamie McGee called up to the commentary box to see me on Friday night at Shelburne Park, and sure, Jamie's some man to talk. But I'll tell you one thing. He's heading back to the UK this week. Obviously, he's assistant trainer with Patrick Janssens, but I'd say he'll be claiming responsibility for this. Well, I came back and Hawkfield Abbey does a track record in the opening run of Mullingar. Surprise? I don't think so. Grandfather might know a bit about training greyhounds too, Jamie. Of course, English Derby winning trainer, Ginger McGee. 30-41 in an A2 competition, taking three spots off the previous track record. She wins by 11 lengths, and in normal circumstances, you go, well, you break a track record in the first round of a competition like this over the 550 yards. Well, you're going to be very hard to beat in the competition. Her 30-41 was only 3 lengths faster than Rathmoyle Jerry, who had caught the eye at Shelburne Park in a sprint in his previous outing. He showed real promise in his early starts. He does 30-62. They really were the two standout performances, but it's rare you see a track record done in A2 company.
I don't think you see it. I don't think you see it very often. The only other place you might have one time would be the Lee Strand, maybe something like that. Something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. That's an 8-3.
Yeah,
Hawkfield Abbey, obviously she's from a very talented family, Brownstown Tango. What a dam she has been. She's thrown classic winners, and Hawkfield Abbey, like, she has a bit of experience in her card. The key is she doesn't often get loose at the head of affairs. When she does, she's capable of a big run, but this was comfortably a career best performance by her. Well done to Jerry Connors and Ginger McGee. The other heat winner that was of note was Rathmoyle Jerry, 30-62, as I've said, had shown plenty of promise in his early starts for John Fennelly, 28-86 in defeat on debut, but looked a really nice type on that night, and sort of just got a bit lost in a few subsequent starts, but he's run well now his first 2 runs this year, and just don't be surprised if he turns into a decent tracker. Fate Point Jet is in second spot. The only other heat winner that went under 31 seconds was, Rough Frankie, and the well-bred son of Good News and Bubbly Rose for Curtis Bain, coming down from the north. And I like the way he did it, led early and went on to win by a length from Dark Design, who ran well in defeat. This is something similar to the Cork Cup in a sense where there's not much room for error. It will get pretty competitive. Like, I know one or two of the other heats were 1 in 31 10s, 31.05s, whatnot, but a couple of them did come from well off the pace. They are capable of turning a bit closer. So it will end up being a bit more competitive than it looked purely on the times in the opening round. And last, but certainly not least, we've mentioned Thurles, we've mentioned Cork, Mullingar. I'm just doing this for my own benefit. We had the Eugene Wheatley Memorial, the Eamon Wheatley Memorial, The Eamon Wheatley Memorial was at Newbridge on Friday night. It had been delayed from a week earlier. Obviously, they couldn't race the week earlier due to, I think it was a waterlogged surface. But Beaming Outlaw won. I told you be back to Doolan Duke for Corona Ryan. Corona is one of the great enthusiasts of the sport, and this youngster had shown plenty of early speed in his previous starts. He's only a July 22. The hot favourite was Air Razor, who missed the kick but showed plenty of pace to come through for second spot. But Beaming Outlaw, a good winner, and as I said to you, Doolan Duke was the dam or the sire involved. Do you remember Doolan Duke, Tommy? Showed real promise.
Vaguely, yeah.
Yeah, ran very well in the unraced stake at Clonmel. Got knocked out, I think it was in the semi-finals. Went to the English Derby. That's how well Pat thought of him. Got knocked out of the English Derby, but he went on to win the Derby Plate. And I think he probably did as good a time as there was in the final, and got injured soon after. They tried their best to get him back. There was a few breaks in his card. He produced 1 or 2 decent runs, but it was never quite the same Greyhound. Well, Corona's taking a chance with him at stud, a son of Law Hill Duke at a Coolavani Pearl. Maybe if you were looking for something, maybe with a bit of pace and power, Doolan Duke could really fit the bill. But no, good to see him having a good winner. Beaming Outlaw winning in 28-82. That's it from me. We're into it now, Tommy, aren't we? Full flow. Gold Cup final this weekend. Juvenile Classic is now flying. We'll have the final of the Champion Pitch Stake sponsored by Droopy Stud. We'll have the Midlands Derby. Obviously, the Easter Cup is only around the corner. Some fast dogs trialling at Shelburne Park over the weekend. We're into it.
Well, everything is kicked off now. When you have the unraced greyhounds coming out now, and you've got the classics on at the same time, and they start to overlap, and one will be over. We continue on and overlap the next one with Easter Cup will be up next, and the Oaks won't be long. It won't be long. You'll feel it coming. It'll fly. Yeah, busy is what it is from here on.
Well, let's just hope that the level of performance that we've seen already in the first 3 or 4 weeks of this year continues through a remainder. We'll be in for a pretty special year, no question about it. An awful lot of fast dogs are already on the ground, and as we saw from Friday night at Tralee, plenty more are about to hit the ground. We're not even done. I've been hearing whispers about this unraced stake at Newbridge. There could be some absolutely flying bitches going to appear in the Brownstown Tanker Newbridge Track Supporters unraced bitch stake, as they always do. Some stars have emerged. We saw last year's Oaks winner emerging from a Crafty Chivu. We saw Susie Sapphire running in the opening round a few years back. That's the type of quality. Drewby's Curio, who's now one of the top dams in the country, Unlock and Lock, another one of the top dams in the country. They all emerge from this competition, and it'll be very interesting to see what will emerge this year. That's it, though, for us on this Monday evening. Hope you enjoyed yourself. We've spent a full hour talking about an awful lot of very fast greyhounds. We'll do the same again next week, but that's it from us on this Monday evening. My thanks again to the exiled one, Tommy Lyons, in his yawl base. He's off now to get himself a bit of breakfast. I'll be doing the same. By the time you're watching this, we'll be flat out. Kids will be in bed and the whole lot. Anyway, good luck, good evening, God bless. We'll see you next time.